If you are a real estate wholesaler or aspiring wholesaler, I have a message for you. I hope to be direct and not mince words, and I hope you take this message to heart and rise up to the occasion. Since 2019, the wholesaling industry has been under attack. At an accelerated pace, regulation is sweeping across the country state by state. From the outside, this regulation is in the name of protecting the consumer from the harmful practices of wholesalers. The outside world views the practice of wholesaling as predatory, unfair, unethical, dishonest, and harmful to sellers. We are repeatedly accused of lying, stealing, and cheating vulnerable and unsuspecting homeowners from their hard-earned equity. This pervasive narrative has become mainstream and is destructive to our industry. Now, I've been wholesaling for 20 years and one of the longest standing educators and foremost authorities on wholesaling in our industry, and have seen firsthand all of the good that wholesaling does for sellers, our neighborhoods, and the real estate market. Inside our industry, we know this. We know that by and large, wholesalers provide a tremendous service to distressed sellers that no one else is able or willing to provide, especially real estate agents. You and I know that there is a certain seller who does not have the time or the desire to hire a real estate agent and instead chooses a wholesaler who offers a fast, hassle-free transaction for all cash. You and I know that a distressed seller willingly chooses to sell at a discount for that speed and convenience offered by a wholesaler. You and I know that wholesalers play a vital role in the housing economy. Many of these homes are vacant and dilapidated. Wholesalers bring much needed inventory to investors who in turn fix up these homes, improving neighborhoods, reducing crime, increasing values, and providing affordable housing. The bottom line is nobody wins when you take the wholesaler out of the picture. But it's not enough that you and I know this. The rest of the world doesn't see or recognize the value we bring to sellers and the market. So why don't they see it? What is really going on here? Why is there such an aggressive movement against wholesaling? While there may be some misconduct or foul play, that's not really what's going on. When you pull back the curtain, you'll find that the one pulling the strings is the National Association of Realtors, or NAR for short, and this is nothing more than a power grab. NAR takes the position that wholesaling is nothing more than brokering, and wholesalers should be licensed and follow the same oversight as agents. We wholesalers disagree and hold the position that we are a principal in the contract and merely selling our contractual rights, which we have every right to do under contract law. Now, we can debate whether or not wholesaling is brokering. That's just a surface argument. There is more going on here that you have to be aware of. NAR has a bigger objective than just getting wholesalers licensed. NAR is after blood and wants to stop wholesaling altogether. We are viewed as a threat to their livelihood. NAR really isn't worried about wholesalers stealing from sellers. NAR is worried about wholesalers stealing from agents. Now, let me prove to you that NAR is the wizard behind the regulation curtain. Let's take Pennsylvania Senate Bill 1173 that was just signed into law on July 8th and goes into effect January 8th, 2025. This law requires wholesalers to get licensed and that wholesalers disclose to sellers that they intend to wholesale the property. Now, while I disagree with this regulation, we can deal with that if that was all it was. But this law has another provision which completely screws wholesalers. If you intend to wholesale, protected by law, the seller has the unwaivable right to cancel your contract without cause for any reason for 30 days. Now, that overreaching provision to the law is a blatant, directed, and intended attack on wholesalers because now your contract holds no value. It is not a legally binding contract anymore. Who in their right mind is going to contract with sellers when the law not only invites but encourages sellers to not honor their contract with you? Your entire business is vulnerable and at risk because your contract is worthless. So how is NAR behind this law? NAR and the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors created this bill. They set up a committee of its members called the Wholesaling Task Force. They found 2 senators who sponsored the bill. It was crammed down our throats in record time. This bill was introduced, passed the Senate and the House, and signed into law in 77 days. On the day it was voted in the House, NAR sent 250 of its minions to the Capitol advocating and supporting the passage of this bill. And if you're sitting there thinking, no big deal, Jerry, there are loopholes. Just double close or create an LLC and sell the LLC. Maybe, possibly, But that is a very short-sighted view, and it's only kicking the can down the road. While these loopholes may work today, finding loopholes is not the solution to the ongoing overreaching regulations sweeping our industry. The bigger picture is they are coming for us. Stopping wholesaling is the end game. Don't think for a minute that NAR and the anti-wholesaling movement is going to stop until they have closed all the loopholes. So, what should we do about it? Every one of us should take an active role in getting involved. Now, I've got several suggestions for what we can do on an individual level and as an industry. But first, let's talk about how to transact in a state that has passed regulation. Now, some of you have taken a catch me if you can approach. Your attitude is, as long as I can get away with it, I'll keep doing it. Now, I'm seeing this in South Carolina where wholesalers are publicly bragging about closing deals while leaving out all of the details so the REC doesn't catch wind. Look, like me, you may disagree with these regulations. I believe they violate my rights protected by contract law. I believe they will ultimately harm the very person they supposedly protect, the sellers. I also believe that the underlying motive behind these regulations is a power grab by NAR. And I believe that most of these laws will be difficult for the REC to uphold and enforce. I also believe most of these laws never should have been passed in the first place. As a wholesaling industry, we should have been organized enough to fight these laws, and we should have stopped them or at least made an effort to stop them. Now we're reaping the consequences of sitting by idly. But just because you or I disagree with these regulations does not mean we are entitled to violate the law and wholesale without a license or not disclose or whatever the law mandates. There is a process to fight unscrupulous laws. Laws can be challenged in the courts, overturned, and deemed unconstitutional. But you have to follow the right steps. Breaking the law or encouraging others to break the law because you either don't agree with it or because you think you can get away with it is still breaking the law. Don't be the very thing we are accused of, dishonest and unethical. While every industry has bad actors, in our industry, with all the heat we're getting, one bad wholesaler operating illegally and unethically, even if unintentionally, is one too many. Don't give NAR or the consumer protection agencies any reason to come after us. All wholesalers everywhere need to become more aware of their state laws, as well as the concerns that the regulatory boards and consumer protection agencies have. You need to get active in your state. You can assume every state is looking at and considering regulation of some sort. Be aware of the bills being introduced. Contact your elected officials and help them understand the good we provide. At an individual level, we need to raise the bar. We need to operate at a higher level. Be upfront and honest about what you are doing. The best way to do that is with disclosure. Years ago, I created 4 very specific written disclosures that I believe all wholesalers should follow. First, an equity release disclosure. This is where the seller is made aware and acknowledges that the purchase price may be less than the market value and that the seller knowingly and voluntarily agrees to sell the property for convenience, to save time or money, lack of funds to renovate, or any other personal reasons, and releases and waives any and all claims against existing or future equity arising from the property. Next is a profit disclosure. This is where the seller acknowledges that you are an investor, and as such, you intend to make a profit by either renting, flipping the property, or assigning the contract. Next is an assignment disclosure where the seller acknowledges that you may assign your interest in the purchase of the property to a third-party end buyer for a fee that is separate from the purchase price in the agreement. And finally, an agency disclosure where the seller acknowledges that either you do not hold an active real estate license or that you do hold a license, but either way, you are not representing the seller in any way and acting out of your own interest. Now, these are written disclosures I review every time with sellers and get them to sign that they understand, regardless of regulation, to make sure that the seller is crystal clear and fully aware of my intentions as an investor. I spent thousands of dollars in legal fees to create these 4 disclosures, and I believe every wholesaler should use them for your benefit and the seller's benefit, and I'll give them to you for free. I'll put the link in the description for the free download. Now, as an industry, I believe we need to self-regulate. The best way to do that, I believe, is to organize as an industry and create standardized training and best practices. I also think a national association is extremely important to have proper representation. We need a seat at the table and the chance to join the conversation. We need to raise money to fight these terrible laws. We need to take an active role so that we don't get steamrolled out of existence by NAR. Now, I started a nonprofit trade organization called the National Real Estate Wholesalers Association, but I lacked the support to get it off the ground and honestly, lacked the energy. Wholesaling changed my life. It allowed me to go from poverty to becoming a multimillionaire. I owe my life to wholesaling, but I am not going to fight for an industry that can't even align to a common purpose. I'll simply adjust and keep going, which I've already started doing. Honestly, I don't know if we can salvage wholesaling. I don't know if it can be saved. It might be too late. Maybe we can prevent further carnage. I don't know. But I've spoken to some of the other top educators, leaders, and industry experts, and there may be enough support and interest to try again, but it is going to require an overwhelming support. So if you want to help with the movement and become part of the solution, share this video on your favorite real estate forums, groups, and social media. Reach out to your mentor or influencer that you respect and ask for their support. Help bring awareness and let me know that you're behind me on this. Leave a comment and say, Jerry, I stand with you. I'm willing to pledge my time, support, and even money to save or salvage what's left of the wholesaling industry. And if you're new to wholesaling, don't get discouraged by these changes. If you think it's too hard now to wholesale, then this was never the business for you anyways. At this point, regulation is probably inevitable. The industry is too big. We're a multi-billion-dollar industry. All that means is you have to be willing to adapt and move forward. Those that do will become wildly successful. Now watch this next video to learn what I'm doing to prepare and adjust my wholesale business so that I continue to thrive and prosper in real estate, and I'll see you on the next video.